California's 2025 harvest is turning into 2024 all over again, and that is not a good thing. Hey, when vintages get tough, the tough get blending. And Texas wine, the vindication of their vinification. All that and more on this week's episode of This Week Uncorked. Well, hello, and welcome to episode 60 of This Week Uncorked for Monday, September 8th, 2025. I'm Brett Martin from Corkage Journey, back home, back in the studio. There we go. If you're not familiar with Corkage Journey, we're the number one source for corkage fee information, as well as winery reviews, wine reviews, restaurant reviews, regional wine guides, and much, much more. And now let's jump right on into this week's wine news. Alrighty, so over at the San Francisco Chronicle, Jess Lander warns that 2025's wine grape harvest is unraveling. More than 100,000 tons of fruit are likely to be abandoned. The Chronicle reports that the second straight year of oversupply. We talked about this a lot last year on the show. You had people ripping out entire vineyards, just letting the fruit just rot on the vine because they had no buyers for it at all. What's happening again? From the article, driving on Napa Valley's Highway 29 looks a little different this harvest. Dirt fields have supplanted many of the region's prized vineyards. Menacing piles of dead vines sit atop the fallow ground, stripped of the chance to produce wine ever again. That's very, very poetic, Jess. The scene paints a somber picture of the wine industry's foremost struggles. Alcohol consumption has hit a 90-year low, and there's a major oversupply of wine and grapes. Tens of thousands of acres of vineyards have been ripped out across the state, and despite most ideal weather and conditions this growing season, more than 100,000 tons of California wine grapes will likely be left on the vine to rot for the second consecutive year. Man, that is not necessarily a good thing. But, we've been talking about it. People aren't buying the grapes anymore. They're letting contracts expire. There's a whole upheaval in the entire industry. And it's not just wine. It has to do with all spirits in general, all alcohol. And so it'll come out of it. But, I did not realize that alcohol consumption was at a 90-year low. That was a new statistic to me. I don't know where it came from, but it's the San Francisco Chronicle. We got to trust it, right? Anyway, crazy stuff. And moving on, the BBC, is reporter Will Small, is talking about how climate change is pushing wineries in Napa and Italy and other places as well to embrace non-vintage blends. Once dismissed as really down market, just basically junk wine, doesn't have a year on it, the whole thing. It's kind of interesting because I disagree with the comment that, hey, it's just junk wine, all non-vintage. That's kind of been the thing for red wines that are non-vintage or white wines that are non-vintage. Yes, there are a lot that like that, and maybe there is a stigma around it, but you do have things like Opus One Overture, which I would clearly say, even though it's non-vintage, is a pretty spectacular wine. I think it retails for $165 a bottle. And then my buddy, J.J. Huber over at Laguna Canyon Winery, put his first one out, Cellar Thief, from Fountain Grove District, where he just blended several years together, a little Zin Syrah from Plum Ridge Vineyards. And he felt it was best to put a couple years together and see what he could come up with. So if you think about it, you can do a lot. I mean, I will say Overture, they actually released a vintage year, so it's always been non-vintage, but 2021 was so great, they're like, yeah, we're doing that. Anyway, quickly from the article. In the world of wine, vintage is king. If you are buying a bottle of red, white, or rosé, then the specific year of the grape harvest is almost always written on the label. By contrast, non-vintage still wine, that being made by blending 2 or more years, is seen as very down market, something cheap and not cheerful, and it's significantly rare. Yet with climate change hitting vineyards around the world with more extreme weather, a small but growing number of quality-conscious wineries are releasing non-vintage bottles so that they can make wine a lot more consistent. We talked about these two. Madison Vineyards Quixotic out of Livermore, always been a non-vintage, always amazing. So there are upscale. Yes, he's right. Almost all the down market, cheap, $2-3 a bottle stuff. This usually doesn't have a vintage on it. But Anyway, you can see some quality wine with that. And that's what they've always done with champagne. I mean, almost all champagne is non-vintage. They're just blending year after year after year after year after year so they can have that quality and that consistency across the board. So anyway, why not? But interesting read. All right. Moving on, over at the drinks business, Sarah Niche is talking about why media companies are entering the world of wine. And she's basically spotlighting Fox News Wine Shop. Why not? So this is a trend, though, if you think about it. I mean, last week we were talking about the San Francisco Giants have started a wine club. So there's a lot moving. A lot of these places moved. The Wall Street Journal's had a wine club forever. And, basically they're going after that demographic, and they've got a built-in audience. So from the article, Fox News, the news division of one of the globe's biggest media companies, announced on Tuesday, August 26th, that it is joining the world of wine. The brand revealed it has partnered with Direct Wines, Inc. to launch an online wine marketplace, Fox News Wine Shop. According to Fox News, consumers can now browse wines by country, region, grape variety, season, occasion, and more. And bottles are produced by independent and family-run wineries across the United States. If that's the case, why would they want to do by country? Anyway, there'll also be an opportunity to join the Fox News American Wine Club, a subscription service that delivers 9 bottles every 8 weeks. Good for them. We're seeing it more and more and more. Hey, if it gets people to drink wine, I'm all for it. And they are hitting a specific demographic. It's good. They're going to do something called the Fox News 250, celebrating our 250th anniversary next year, and have some wines around that. But I'm guessing that they're surging by region, grape variety, occasion, because I think it's all only American wines because it's Fox News. So there you go. But I say no. I think go to like real wine clubs that have really great stuff. Like if you want something that's not vineyard, not winery specific, Kermit Lynch. I've talked about it before. We've got a link to it over on Corkage. The Kermit Lynch Wine Club, it's the best. And you get to amazing wines from all over Europe. Yes, it doesn't have anything in America on it, but you can supplement that. Or go to your local tasting room. You've got the Vintners Collective, which is over in Napa Valley. That's our buddy Rex Pickett's, who wrote Sideways. I haven't talked about Rex in a while. Still a good friend. You should check out Sideways, rexpickettbooks.com. We've got a discount. Freddie will put it down below. But it is, the Vintners Collective, only local people doing some really interesting stuff. They've got like 15, 16 different local winemakers in there bringing their wines in, so you get to experience some of that as well. There are a lot of amazing. My favorite probably wine store, wine bar in the entire world is in San Juan Capistrano, 5 Vines. It's just absolutely amazing. He's pulling all kinds of different. Support those people. Try them. I'm sure if you're watching this, But anyway, that's my rant. And wrapping up the news, let's go to Texas wine. Texas Monthly, Paula Forbes, is charting the entire rapid evolution of Fredericksburg and the Hill Country as Texas' premier wine destination. Look, we have it has really grown up. It's used to be party buses and a bunch of Texans there getting hammered all the time. That probably still exists, but really, as we've documented, we did an entire Texas wine country journey last year. We wrote about it extensively. It's really moving up. And to quote from the article here, during the past couple of decades, the number of wineries along the 30-mile stretch of US 290 between Johnson City and Fredericksburg has grown from a handful to around 50. Some of them good, some bad, some remarkably cheesy. Yes, that is true. But there are a lot of good. We talked about Calais. I've got Calais up here. Spicewood Vineyards, Ron Yates. There's some amazing wineries that are there. Yes, you do have to kind of go around and check them out, but Civigny is a great one that I would recommend. We've got a whole list of them over at Cork and Journey. Well worth checking them out. They are growing up. And if you stay over in Fredericksburg, some amazing restaurants, some amazing hotels. I do think they have problems. I think they've got an organic thing they're going to have to deal with because a lot of their grapes are grown up in Lubbock, and that they're just next to massive, massive agriculture with a lot of overspray and a lot of pesticides and a lot of problems. But there are certain vineyards that are doing really, really interesting jobs, and they're producing some really, really nice wines. That's going to wrap up the news. And with that, let's get into our wine and winery of the week. Alrighty, let's head over to Tuscany. Let's head over to Chianti Classico. Let's go to Felsina. This is in the southeastern corner of Chianti Classico. It basically is site-specific Sangiovese. They have over 500 hectares. 90 of them are under vine. Beautiful. They produce really nice age-worthy stuff. They produce just stuff that they're giving out to local restaurants. Tastings are by reservation only, but it's a really nice, almost all the tastings are a full tour, as well as a nice sit-down tasting, going through all their various wines. I have to say we were really pleased, had a wonderful, wonderful visit with them. Great stuff across the board. It's really interesting, you hear about the table wine at all these restaurants, and until you really go to Tuscany, go to Chianti Classico, you don't understand that, man, restaurants will pull up with huge multi-gallon bottles, and they just fill them. They've got the table wine they're making. They're just filling them up and they're bringing them back to their restaurants. Really, really interesting. So they're this place. They produce everything, especially at the size of their estate and how they do. But I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, their higher end wines absolutely outstanding, and even their table wines were just very drinkable. Lovely, lovely, lovely. And with that, why don't we stay in Tuscany for our wine of the week, which is the 2017 San Filippo Brunello de Montalcino, Le Lucere. Man, 91 points, $120 a bottle. So that 91 point number just drops down a little bit when you pay that much for a bottle of wine. Sangiovese Grosso, because it's Brunello. Decent wine. I tell you, for that kind of money, though, you kind of want something that's going to have a little more kick. You want it in the mid to high 90s across the board. But it was a Brunello. It was wonderful. Tastes great. If it was, $40 a bottle, I'd be raving about it, $35 a bottle, but not at $120 a bottle. But anyway, decent wine. Probably would avoid it at a restaurant, which is probably one of the few, but anyway, maybe I'm wrong. Decant it, try it, but it was lovely to taste. So there you go. And with that, let's head on to our restaurant and Corkage of the week. All right, from Tuscany to Las Vegas, it's LMP Restaurant and Bar. We gave it 5 stars. It's not cheap. It's $100 plus per person. Mediterranean fare. It's funny, the article we wrote, I'm like, if you stepped off the plane in Nice and wandered into a bustling outdoor cafe at Antibes, I kind of felt that. I must have been thinking back 20 years ago when I was in Nice, but I was there this time. It's not really Nice, but it's a nice restaurant. And there is something a little transportive about it. I mean, you go in, the service is outstanding, but not overly stuffy. The dishes are really good. The chef hasn't gone, what I want to say, Michelin star, lost his mind crazy. They're making really beautiful, tasty, edible dishes. You're seeing them on the screen. So if you happen to be in Las Vegas, and you're over at the Cosmopolitan or near the Cosmopolitan, give LMP Restaurant and Bar a try. I think you will enjoy it. And it's only $30 per bottle corkage fee, no limit, but can't be on their wine list. So you will want to check their wine list because it's quite extensive, but pretty decent. That's one of the best corkage fees we've seen in Las Vegas. So we're checking out. All right, well, that's going to wrap up this week's show. As always, we want to thank everybody so much for watching us. We love it if you subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on your favorite social media applications. And be sure to check out the interview we did with Remy Jean from Chateau Lernert in Châteauneuf-du-Pape. It was so much fun. I want to thank him for that. I just dropped it last week. Link is down below. Cheers, everybody. See you next week.